Hi, Zizaran here. Obviously, there's a lot of PoE stuff happening right now, a lot of talks, so I'll react and made an intro so I can turn this into a video. We're going to watch the Criparian video. Obviously, I just watched the Ben one. I think the Ben one was before the PoE announcement. Crip's video is called PoE 2 has eaten PoE 1. Numb. I just want to see the video, so we'll watch it, and we'll watch Crip Yep. I already reacted to Ben's. It'll be up on YouTube today.
Hey guys, how's it going? Criparian here. Today I want to
Criparian
do a
here.
video about the Path of Exile 1 announcement. Now, I know a lot of you guys have actually started on the Path of Exile train because of Path of Exile 2. A lot of you guys are actually waiting for that moment where it's like a full game reset, as if, and you guys can, start to take on this game in its second franchise that was so highly talked about in the past, though in the past maybe it just seemed a bit too intimidating for whatever reason. Now, Path of Exile, guys, they gave us an announcement that was probably one of the most disappointing, actually, it was definitely the most disappointing one that we have heard, and it has to do with the fact that they have delayed Path of Exile 1 leagues.
True.
So I thought I would kind of backtrack a little bit, give you guys some information on how the leagues work and why the game has been successful to this date, because I have been playing Path of Exile 1. I've only skipped a couple of leagues, maybe like...
Fun fact, the way that works is because of Criparian. Isn't that cool? It's actually because of him that the game works that way. Not even memeing. But he told GGD that that's what they needed to do. They need to have a set schedule of like a league every 3 months. It's actually something he told them to do.
Like 6 or 7 years ago, just the timing was really bad. But more or less, I have been playing every single league for over 10 years since the game was first playable in, I think it was closed beta at the time when you had to get like the Kiwi supporter packs. So back then, Path of Exile was a game that was developed by very few people, and a lot of those very few people still work on Path of Exile 2 today, which is why I have been so hopeful for the game. And they made the system fairly shortly after launch, where they get a new league, a season reset, a new major mechanic, along with significant balance changes every 3 to 4 months to encourage you guys to try to make like a new character, explore the new content. And it was a mix where you would kind of take the knowledge that was still somewhat valuable from the previous time you played Path of Exile, adapt it to the new version of the game, and you could make pretty good character each time, but because there were new challenges, there was like an X factor. So there was this period of discovery where you try to figure out your build, try to figure out your character, and try to figure out the new content that they challenged you with. And this was a pretty fun experience, which resulted in Path of Exile more or less on an upward growth trend consistently over a decade, which is why the game is so good, honestly, and has been received so well, especially in recent years. It's largely why a lot of people were excited about Path of Exile 2. So the announcement that we got yesterday was that Path of Exile 1, its league, will be further delayed, and further delayed by a lot. Basically, instead of it being rolled out every 3 to 4 months, it has been like, I don't know, 7 or 8 months or something since the last one, because they've actually had to cannibalize their Path of Exile 1 team in order to get Path of Exile 2 out the door. And as a result of that, well, they're now working on Path of Exile 2, and Path of Exile 2, understandably, they didn't say it, but understandably is a much bigger project with many more prospective players. Yeah. So they are going to maintain the resources that they took from Path of Exile 1, and they're going to keep them on Path of Exile 2, in their own words, at least until the second major rollout of Path of Exile 2.
And it's mostly like really bad mismanagement. And I guess like, I don't think anyone's surprised, right? Because on Steam charts, even now, like, Path of Exile in the last 24 hours doesn't have that much less than the all-time peak of PoE 1 on Steam. Now, obviously, probably more people play standalone on PoE 1 and more people play Steam on PoE 2. So I'm not surprised, but it is like so mismanaged at this point.
Happens. And we don't have a date for this, but people assume that it is maybe a few months from now. And then afterwards, they promise that they will put their resources in working out a Path of Exile 1 league. That's pretty much the announcement. That's basically why a lot of people are disappointed.
And it's also like, I don't understand why do they not, with this video, have at least a timeline for the PoE 2 stuff. They give us some rough indication. It doesn't have to be a literal date, But like, I have no idea. Are we getting PoE 2 stuff in like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20? I don't know when we're getting new stuff at all.
And I will give you guys a little bit of context because, again, I know a lot of you guys only played Path of Exile 2. So, like, what's all the fuss about, right? Well, as the creators of Path of Exile 1, even Chris Wilson, in a talk that he actually, was very kind enough to give me some credit that, I contributed to this, their model of a new league with new content every 3 to 4 months basically keeps people coming back to the game, and it has been their recipe for success, which is why they have been doing it so well and perfecting it over the years. So they are kind of breaking this model. And as someone that plays video games a lot, it is something that has been missed a little bit. And
A lot.
it's really difficult to say with certainty if you stop the cycle, when you pick it up again, how well it will work. So, the
True.
reality is
That's true.
the
I hadn't thought about
disappointing
that.
announcement that they have, that's currently the best case scenario for Path of Exile 1. It's not what's surely going to happen because, let's be honest, their plans have changed many times in the last few months, and we are where we are today because of those changes. So
Yeah.
it's not like, oh yeah, finally Path of Exile 1 is getting its league probably like 3-4 months from now, right? Right? Yeah, maybe, but that's the best case. Okay, so in the best case, we're looking at approximately a year in between Path of Exile 1 leagues, which, yeah, that could and almost certainly does affect their player base. Because, again, they're kind of breaking that repetition cycle that has been working for them for so long. The other side is, while Path of Exile 2 is out, it is a bit of a different game, but
Very
I have
different.
a lot of contacts and a lot of people that played Path of Exile 1 religiously are actually more into Path of Exile 2. And because the audience for content creators shifts towards Path of Exile 2, I would say that Path of Exile 2 will have a pretty strong future because, well, people are watching it. The content creators are going to play Path of Exile 2 more than going to play Path of Exile 1, at least most of them, because there's more eyes on the game. So
I don't know if that's true either. I think people are just going to play launches, right? Irrespective of anything else. I think most content creators. I don't think that. It's curious. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I would expect that most content creators, let's say there's been like 2 months of PoE 2 and then a new PoE 1 league comes, most content creators would move to the PoE 1 launch. Like, it's all about launches. That's all ARPGs are, right? That's why I hate when people dunk on like Diablo 4 or Last Epoch or PoE off season, right? Like, who cares about the off season? Like, ARPGs are all about the launches. The first 2 weeks is always the most fun.
So not only is the cycle broken, but I think we'll have the content creators largely playing Path of Exile 2 over Path of Exile 1. Now, it's kind of a weird thing because even a player like Ben, who has probably gotten the most first places in races and leagues and challenges, he's actually back to playing Path of Exile 1 already. He basically said Path of Exile 1 is just so good. All the problems in Path of Exile 2 have been already solved in Path of Exile 1. And yeah, that's true. That's true. People that have played Path of Exile 1 and were like really, really into the game, like the most die-hard Path of Exile 1 players, when it comes to Path of Exile 2, a lot of them aren't too pleased. So there is going to be this divide. But I think it is undeniable that the audience is going to swing for Path of Exile 2, meaning that not only are content creators going to be pushing Path of Exile 2 more, but that's where the money is going to flow for the grinding gear games and their game.
Yeah. So a lot of that is as well, and I've had a lot of chatters confirm this. There were so many people that wanted to play Path of Exile 1 desperately. But especially since they heard that there was a Path of Exile 2 was coming, and they feel like they missed the boat on Path of Exile 1. It was too complicated. It's like going into a room where there's like shit on the walls. There's like heaps of trash everywhere, and you just don't know where to start when you want to clean it. You're like, no, fuck it, I'll just leave it. There's a new room opening up next door. It's just like, that room's going to be clean. There's only going to be 4 things there. So they were like, well, I'll start playing PoE 2. And a lot of those people are, now that they have learned PoE 2 a little bit, thinking, well, now maybe I'll try PoE 1. So I actually do think when PoE 1 gets a new update, it will have a decent amount of PoE 2 players transfer over to PoE 1, because now it's a little bit less daunting. You're already more familiar with the game. So I could see that happening at least. But yeah, we'll see.
So I think what's going to happen is, although I'm sure it's not like
Thank you.
intentional on their end, the way that I see it, the way that I predict things will work out is Path of Exile 1 ultimately won't have as many players as it did before. Ultimately, Path of Exile 2 will have a lot of players, and certainly
I think PoE 1 will have more. I genuinely think there's a very big chance that PoE 1 will hit a new... Like, I don't think it'll break PoE 2, but I think it'll have more than its previous peak. Like, why wouldn't it?
more than Path of Exile 1 did. While I expect the future for Path of Exile 2 to be very good, even though, like Quinn kind of, mentioned on my first Path of Exile 2 video, I should be.
Wait, hold up. PoE will have way less player count than last league. Why? Why would it? I don't understand why it would have less. Like, I'm not saying it's gonna beat PoE 2. I'm saying it'll be bigger than the last PoE 1 league. I would say that's like a 90% chance. Anyway, let's go back 10 seconds because I think I missed something.
Like Quinn kind of, mentioned on my first Path of Exile 2 video, I should be far more hyped for the game. I had reservations for, any game I hadn't played. And, more or less, I was right about that. There's always some reservations that you should have if you've never played a game before and it's in like, closed beta state. Eventually, I do believe Path of Exile 2 will be, the best version of Path of Exile that you can play. It does appear like we are fairly distant from...
I'm a little... So I was saying the same thing Crypt just said, and I hope that's the case, but after the last podcast they did with Ghazi and Darth, I'm a little bit less sure of that, for me at least. And the reason I'm a little bit less sure of that is just the way they talked about items and RNG and stuff. Like, they did say that obviously, like, a lot of the things that players want are coming with leagues, but they did seem like they really liked the RNG stuff, whereas I like clear progression. I like when I have like a path to upgrades. I really dislike it when it is literally just throw a dice and I don't have a clear way to progress at all. Like, I love in PoE 1 where I can have like 15 different goals that I'm working towards. In PoE 2 it is so RNG, and they seem like they like that. So if that's going to continue to be the case, I'm a little bit frazzled by that, I guess, but we'll see how it turns out.
that point. And it does feel like the Path of Exile 1 cycle of things is broken on many fronts. But ultimately, the most important one is over at their company. At the end of the day, if they pulled a lot of resources from Path of Exile 1 and they're working on Path of Exile 2 right now, and Path of Exile 2 has more people playing it, and Path of Exile 2 has more people looking at their games in general, and Path of Exile 2 has bringing in like more and more money, well, you kind of can pretty well predict how that's going to end. It probably is going to be an end cycle for the development of Path of Exile 1. Maybe not to the point where they're just like cutting off, support for the game, but I think it is going to be the end of the era of consistently good 3 to 4 month leagues. That's kind of what I expect for Path of Exile 1. And yeah, it is certainly...
I don't expect that. I don't understand why they wouldn't keep updating it. I don't understand why people are being so doomer about that. I fully believe that once PoE 2 is like finished, both games will get fairly regular updates. I don't understand why. Like, they'll make more money with that. That's the bottom line, right? Like, what makes you more money? Where are you sourcing your copium? With what will make them the most money? You're coping? But why though? Not if they don't have the resources. So many of the PoE 1 leagues that came out in the last year and a half had like less than 5 people working on it, right? Like, very few people working on it. So like, I wish they like would just have people keep working on it right now. But like, so many of the last leagues in like the last year and a half were the best leagues we've ever had. Where's the source? That's what 2DD said. That's what 2DD told us. And now it's 0, which fucking sucks. That might be a lie, though. Sure, but if I'm just gonna go through life assuming everybody's lying to me, I'm probably gonna be quite miserable. Like, if I was just gonna go through assuming that they're lying to me and that the company's evil, why would I not just leave and never... Why would I continue wasting energy on the game? I wouldn't be posting angry messages, I would just stop playing the game completely, stop interacting. That's the worst thing you could do. You vote with your wallet. If you're still spending time and energy on the game, you're the one losing. So, I don't know. I do believe that eventually we'll get to the point where both games are going to get updates. And like I said, like, for example, Settlers is one of the best, probably for a lot of people in chat would say Settlers is the best PoE 1 league they've ever had. Right? Yeah, it was my top 1 league, yeah. Like, what was my favorite? Sanctum, and then, do you know what? Not just because of the league, but fuck, what was the Recombinator league called? Sentinel. Sentinel, not because of the league mechanic. I fucking loved Recombinators, dude. Do you know what? Do you know what would have been the perfect thing for me? Affliction. Affliction was like a 3 out of 10. If I had Sanctum, the original Sanctum League with Recombinators, that would have been peak PoE for me. Crucible, that was like a 1 out of 10. I hated Crucible. Crucible was like actually worse than Calandra. The patch of Calandra was worse, but like as a league mechanic, I think Crucible's the worst league we've ever had. Affliction was like so bad. The entire premise of both games is to make money, right? PoE 1 players will not buy a lot of MTX as they already have a lot, while PoE 2 MTX department is just starting and people will buy a lot of them. But you get that MTX in PoE 1 and PoE 2. People are going to buy MTX at the launch of both games and you'll get them in both games. Affliction was one of the most successful. We're not talking about successful leagues though. We were talking about what I personally enjoyed. I didn't like Affliction that much. It was fine. It was fine, but it wasn't like my best league ever. The fact is, thing new 326 was not even started yet. I was hiding it for months. Yeah, that does suck. Like, there's not really, you can't really have any factual things about leagues, right? It's just some leagues you like and some leagues you didn't. There are probably some people that liked Graveyard League. Graveyard League was one of my least favorite, right? Let's be honest, your best league ever was Calandra. Why? Because I barely played it. And like some people liked Blight. Do you know, it's funny, league mechanic wise, I think I dislike more leagues than I like. The league mechanic is usually not why I play PoE, to be honest with you. Synth was one of my favorite. Don't you feel like you're grading leagues on a completely different scale between PoE 1 and PoE 2? In PoE 1, you hate a league because it's bad for SSF. Meanwhile, in PoE 2, has a slot machine for a crafting mechanic. I don't get it. I haven't never graded a PoE 2 league. I've been saying PoE 2 has shit tons of problems, loads of things I dislike about it, and that I hope it'll get better. It was fun because it's fresh. I don't understand the comment. I don't feel like I've been anything but negative about item generation and crafting in PoE 2. So I don't understand your comment at all. It's very confusing to me.
A sobering moment for players that have enjoyed the game for so long, like myself. But that's the way that these things roll out. You know, games are not static. The best games are not static. And, you know, you really have to appreciate the good times that you have because they're not always going to be a lot of fun. And when they are, sometimes we're lucky enough to play a whole lot of it. So we'll see what the future brings, and I hope my insight has been valuable to you. See you next time.
Good video clip. We'll link that in the description. A little bit sad, but you know, I don't think it's the end of time. It's definitely a bad footnote. He's acting like he's grieving his nan's death. I mean, I still have some goodwill left, some hopium left. Again, I'll never understand giving hate to developers. You vote with your wallet. If you're unhappy with what a game developer is doing, do not give them money, right? That, at the end of the day, that's what you can do. Don't send hate to devs. That's weird. Vote with your wallet. Like, Civ 7 is coming up. I'm not going to buy it. At least not early access because I want to protest the $30 extra for basically 7 days of starting early. I hate that shit. It's bad monetization. I might buy it with lol dookie. I might buy it with on a sale someday in the future if people say it's really cool. Yeah, I'll probably play Kingdom Come. Hopefully that doesn't have any monetization shit. But either way, I understand why people are angry about PoE 1, especially the people that dislike PoE 2, right? Especially people who dislike PoE 2. Because, like I said earlier in the stream, it's like a new child is there. Your parents are telling you that they love you, but they're not even giving you food, right? They're not even feeding you while telling you that they love you. So I understand that people are upset. I hope we get some timelines, but we'll see what happens, I guess. Probably make like a longer video talking about it. Just wanted to react to the crypt one. Either way, thanks for watching. So if you liked the video, more importantly, try to die less than I do. Less than Pee-wee does. She